the Vols back on the practice field, and just so everybody knows, sometimes you don't. If you've been around practice a lot, I'll go ahead and tell you that the first couple of days are an acclimation period, and Tennessee, I think they are in particular pushing a little bit harder because of the influx of freshmen they have coming in. I found it very interesting that Tennessee made their freshmen available to the media yesterday, several of them, and we wrote about them on offthehooksports.com. Some pretty interesting cats. Shadavion Bradley, I thought, was really interesting. We'll have more of those coming out. But this is a program. Well, let's just go ahead and get to it. It's today's tough question. It's brought to you by Zen Sports.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, Caleb. So what stood out from the Vols opening of fall camp to you? That's today's tough question. To me, is that Josh Heupel just seems that much more confident. And that means he's making freshmen available. He's not afraid that they're going to say something stupid that might be bulletin board material, that they could leak something about the offense or defense accidentally, as far as from a schematic standpoint. His comments that there's a dramatic difference from when he showed up on campus. I'll even go Joey Halsley talking about Nico would be ready to play to open the season if they had to do that for whatever reason. I would just say sense of confidence across the board is what stands out from Tennessee's opening of preseason camp. What about you?
I'm going to say something totally different. And
They're scared.
I see a sense of, this doesn't mean scared about the season or lack of confidence in his ability, but I see a little bit of insecurity in Josh Heupel. Yes, insecurity.
How so?
Okay, so talked about the culture change and how much better it is now than when he took over. That was a Sean Payton level shot at Jeremy Pruitt. Like what Sean Payton did with the Broncos coach a couple of weeks ago, that's basically what Josh Heupel just did to Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, he said, what was it exactly he said? It was maybe the worst coached season.
Yeah, Sean Payton took over Denver and said it last year, maybe the worst coached season at Denver that I've ever seen, because he talked about all the issues that he's having to deal with right now.
Yes.
And like a direct shot. Josh Heupel's implying that. On top of that, he's bringing all of his freshmen out, because remember, this is his second recruiting class, but the first one that he was able to work on full time.
Right.
And so, because that 2021 class wasn't his at all. 2022, you know this, your first actual class, like after your first year, you didn't get to fully work on that class. This is the first class he was able to fully work on.
Agreed.
So I would say that I think Josh Heupel is hearing the chatter that he won with Jeremy Pruitt players. And I think it's getting under his skin a little bit. And that's why I think he touted the freshman.
I think he's heard that chatter. I think he knows that to be partially true. If there's any insecurity, it is somewhat well-founded in that I wrote a column that Tennessee has not gotten the big guys up front like Georgia has. Even though their recruiting has been a top 10 and it continues to improve, I do think that they've relied on some of Jeremy Pruitt's talent, and I think they have to prove they can get some of those. I'm going to use this term, the Cade Mazes of the world. You know, the guys that are ready to play when they step on campus. He was ready to play at any school in the nation and maybe a couple of NFL teams as soon as he showed up on campus his freshman year. So that may be my new term. But the Cade Mazes of the world, he has to go get those guys. Is he insecure about those guys? I don't know. I mean, that's the next step. It was the first thing that Kirby Smart said when he took over at Georgia. He goes, you look at the fronts, we've got to get bigger, faster, more athletic up front. That is the final step to becoming, for the most part, a championship program. Now, I think TCU did a little bit with some pixie dust, but they were pretty good up front too. So is he insecure? To me, that's a little bit too strong of a word. but I do think that I think he's confident. And was he taking a shot at Jeremy Pruitt? Maybe. But I think it's so true. I mean, they were so bad that there was jokes made that some of the media could have gone out there and run with a linebacker unit. I mean, it's a statement of fact is the only reason that I'm not quite willing to go down that road with you.
But okay, so maybe not. What is the word you would describe? Like, we all watched Michael Jordan in the Last Dance documentary when he talks about how things ate at him and he took it very personal. I don't know what word you use to describe. I think Josh Heupel is taking it personal that there's still chatter among the college football elite that he still hasn't shown himself to evaluate talent well. Again, this guy thought Joe Milton should start over Hendon Hooker, and that was more about him picking Joe Milton. And we all know Hendon Hooker was better. And I mean, I ask any Tennessee fan right now, who would you rather have as your quarterback this year? Joe Milton now or Hendon Hooker for another year? Everybody would say Hendon Hooker for another year.
Okay, but is that a lack of confidence? I mean, or is that an insecurity? I think that if you're a competitor, you do find things to drive you constantly. And I'm guilty of that. I don't share every one of them with you, but if such and such says, we've had conversations with other radio stations about carrying the show. They said, well, we want to, but we can't clear it yet. Well, I take that personally, and it makes me mad. It makes me want to go do another production element or schedule another great guest. So, I mean, to me, that is finding ways to continually motivate yourself at a high level. So maybe it's the same response. Maybe deep down, I am insecure. Maybe deep down, Josh Heupel is insecure. And that's why we have to find reasons to continue to motivate ourselves. But is that insecurity or not? I don't know, Caleb. You could be my therapist and I could save $100 a week. But
it manifests. I mean, there's sometimes confidence turns into it. In hip hop, Kanye West was insecure, very clearly insecure. But he was confident, and so he always would do things that people said he couldn't do to prove them wrong. He just took it way too far.
Okay, so deep down, do you think that Michael Jordan is insecure?
Yes, I think Michael Jordan is insecure, but I think it's what makes him a great competitor. That's what I mean. I think it's what makes him so good was Michael Jordan let things eat at him so much that he used it as personal motivation to try to overcome it. But that is an insecurity.
Okay, you're sort of winning me over because of what went down at Oklahoma where he got pushed out the door. So maybe he is insecure. He's always, because I mean, those type of things, they didn't call it PTSD 30 years ago when you get fired from your dream job, but that was probably his dream job at the time, and to rise to be the head coach of Oklahoma. But I'm sure that he had PTSD. I'm sure it affected him, probably still affects him to this day, and motivates him. So if that somehow created an insecurity professionally, it's made him a better coach. So be insecure all you want. It hasn't affected his confidence as far as throwing guys out on the field in unique positions, doing things a little bit different, being aggressive in NIL when it was a very gray area. I thought along the NIL line that one coach would misstep and mess something up. He hasn't done that. And we haven't seen that happen. So, yeah, if it's a deep down insecurity for whatever reason, be it daddy issues or mommy issues or the Oklahoma thing, it's working for him. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm saying it in a good way. I'll give you another coach, a great example of someone who was insecure. Steve Spurrier took it very personal when he was fired by Bill Curry. Go back and look at Steve Spurrier's history. When Bill Curry took over at Georgia Tech and fired Steve Spurrier, and he always ran up the score against Kentucky when he was at Florida because of that. And I think a lot of his pot shots at Tennessee were based on the fact that he grew up 90 miles from Knoxville, and Tennessee really had very little interest in him in the 60s when he was a quarterback coming out.
Well, that's true. And if you want to say that Steve Spurrier is insecure, then I kind of see where you're going there, because he came across as the most confident dude ever, and he certainly enjoyed it when he won. So I mean, at what point, if there is any insecurity in what Josh Heupel's saying and addressing the media, is he over that? You have to win a championship to get over that, and then you're Does he turn into Steve Spurrier, cocky little one-liner things, because Spurrier did that once he started beating Tennessee?
Possibly. I mean, that's the thing. You can be insecure with confidence. That would be intriguing. I mean, here's the thing. So there, and by the way, there's insecure with confidence, and then insecure, so insecure it manifests in arrogance. I think Lane Kiffin was not fully sure of what he could do when he was at Tennessee in 2009, and that you agree with me, Dave, right? That manifested in all of his pot shots that he was throwing all the time.
Oh, I don't think there's any question that deep down he was insecure. And what person shouldn't be? Was he 36 years old or something when he got the job? 33. Because we're the same age, so I've gotten old. So that is, yeah. I mean, if that's insecurity and if that's what drives you, then go for it. Hit that like button for me if you're on board now. Big group already, and if you haven't subscribed, do that, and be sure and hit the notifications button. So, a very special conversation that we're going to have tonight with Dwayne Goodrich on the Celebrate 98 series that I was super excited about. A quick aside, Dwayne Goodrich went to prison for 8 years, and he had those bonds with his teammates and his players. There was the incident. He was for those younger than me, he was the former cornerback at Tennessee. He was drafted to replace Deion Sanders so they could get out from underneath his contract in the second round. And then he was involved in an accident, which he was headed home late at night, and he killed 2 people that were trying to help someone that was in a burning car. He went home, later turned himself in. There's a very emotional YouTube video about how he's forgiven by the family. And he did 8 years in prison. NFL career's over. You do 8 years in prison. I mean, you don't come back out. And he went to Fred White, who's going to join us on the program tomorrow, and said, I don't know what to do with my life. And Fred said, well, you should go back to school. And Dwayne said, I'll go back to school if you go back to school. So they both went back to school, lived together, and graduated together. So we'll visit with him about that and what he's up to. That'll be in the Celebrate 98 series. So I encourage you to turn the notifications on. So are we saying that Josh Heupel is insecure and insecurity is a good thing?
Yes, he's insecure the way Michael Jordan is insecure, or the way Steve Spurrier was insecure, which is he's confident in what he can do, but it's eating at him what the chatter is about that he can't evaluate talent. And he is burning to prove people wrong on that.
Today's tough question brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash for a welcome bonus. Earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the promo code HOOKED. That's right, HOOKED. Unlimited 5% cash back for a welcome bonus. Earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code HOOKED. That's right, unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that, and refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee, so if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. What you think of him rolling out freshmen as much as he did? Is that a recruiting ploy? Is that what's the reasoning behind making freshmen available? Because you can be successful in one of two ways, but my guess is that Alabama is not making a bunch of freshmen available, that Georgia is not making a bunch of freshmen available. It's oftentimes something you do, especially in the NIL world, to show players that you're going to promote them to help you in recruiting. Or is it just that Josh Heupel is more comfortable with the media? Butch Jones thought Tennessee's media was horrible. He said, did he use rat poison as well? Caleb, I think he did, or he had some other term that talking about the media, or fake news. He pulled that from, I think, a former president. He used fake news. Whereas I believe Josh Heupel is starting to figure out how to use the media. And you roll out the freshman there, and it takes the conversation away from the quarterback position. And you go out and you tell a prospect, hey, you're not going to sit in the shadows like back in the 70s and 80s as your freshman year, or not even be able to play before that, you're going to be a name. We're going to build your brand. You're going to have endorsement opportunities via NIL. Is it pragmatic like that, or is it just Josh Heupel's more confident?
It's a lot of things. It's back to the first thing we talked about. It is to send a point that he wants, because again, this is his first full recruiting class. It's to send a point that these guys are going to be stars, and I picked them out, and don't forget that in the future. I think it's that. I think it's to send a message to the older guys. Nobody's really a starter here. It is NIL. This is probably the first NIL freshman class. And what I mean by that is the first class that NIL had a huge hand in recruiting them. We know the Nico story. And so there's a lot of that. And no, I'm with you. I also think it's to give the freshmen confidence. I thought about this. I think it's a mistake that Nick Saban doesn't trot out freshmen a lot, because Nick Saban, he'll throw his players under the bus, which he has a right to do because he's won 7 national titles. But I remember when Georgia beat Alabama in the national title 2 seasons ago after Alabama beat them in the SEC title, and they had all those injuries. Saban spent the whole all season pretty much throwing his secondary under the bus, saying, you know what? They weren't ready to go when guys ahead of them were hurt. Well, maybe they weren't ready to go because you didn't give them the publicity that they needed. Josh Heupel is sending his freshmen up and say, hey, be ready to go in case one of our older guys get hurt, particularly when, because of what we talked about Monday, the 2021 recruiting class has only 4 guys left. Dave, I don't know if you realize how so few juniors are on this roster. I mean, it's like upperclassmen and freshmen.
Oh, no. I do. I mean, I think 2024 is, as somebody told me within the program, said that's when it gets dicey. He didn't mean dicey as a bad way. He just meant dicey as a lot of these, in particular, these freshman offensive linemen, underclassmen offensive linemen are going to have to step up and be ready to go. The guy that stood out to me, so here's who visited with the media yesterday. It was offensive lineman Aiden Bustle, Vols defensive lineman David Hobbs, who is the second highest rated prospect in this class behind Nico. Then you had defensive lineman Tyree Weathersby. You had Vols running back Khalifa Keith and Vols defensive lineman Trevor Duncan. But the guy that stood out to me was Shandavion Bradley. Here is a guy who is just so open and honest about, I'm not at the weight I need to be. I came in at 216, 217. I got up to 227. I'm struggling to stay at 225. He also says, I absolutely love it when Rodney Garner yells at me, his position coach. He says that makes me better. The other thing that he shared that I thought was incredibly interesting is, so Garner goes into his high school after they've signed Shandavion Bradley, who was a huge pickup for Tennessee. And then it's over. Okay. As Philip Fulmer used to say, you have to de-recruit them. Okay. And that means that you have placed them on this pedestal, and now you have to bring them back down to earth and make them coachable young men. And he said Rodney Garner, after signing day, comes up to him to recruit other players, and he goes, "Hey, I'm here to tell you that you're signed, and we're not being nice anymore. We're going to start to work you heavily." And they did via text, and made sure that he was on top of his game. And I found that interesting. Shandavion Bradley, what kind of an impact can he have? I'm not sure, but he seems to have the right attitude, Caleb. And I think that Tennessee's got a good one. Seems like a really smart guy with a head on his shoulders, and obviously has a frame that can add an awful lot of weight.
Yeah, and we talked about this, and you had a couple on David Hobbs and Shandavion Bradley yesterday. I mean, if you're a defensive lineman in any way, or an edge rusher, you should embrace being yelled at. Like, the whole point of being a defensive lineman is to play, as you talked about, with your hair on fire every single play. And that's really, really, really hard to do. And so I think that's kind of the goal here, is they want Shandavion Bradley and David Hobbs. They seem like, if you are a truly good defensive lineman, you will embrace the confrontation from coaches and the intensity that comes with it.
No. And Robert said, well, freshies are part of the team, right? But usually coaches, well, I'm not going to say usually, it's not unusual for them to not be available to the media. And that's a pretty common practice among among coaches. They don't like to bring the freshmen out there because they could say something stupid or provide bulletin board material.